A man who was raped as a child by a Church of England vicar in Sussex has been offered a six-figure sum in compensation by the church, but the victim, who's now 45, says that offer is derisory.
Well, Mark says his life was ruined by the abuse he suffered at the hands of Robert Coles. The retired Eastbourne vicar is currently serving an 8-year prison sentence. You may find some of the content of Colin Campbell's report distressing.
His limbs are covered in scars from self-harming.
He raped me numerous times, sexually abused me on a daily basis.
Mark, who's 45, asked us to conceal his identity. He claims sexual abuse he endured as a child perpetrated by this Sussex vicar destroyed him.
I've lost 20 years of my life being in hospital. I've been sectioned, I've been self-harmed, I've been under court sections, I've tried to end my life numerous times, I've been in intensive care.
Mr. Coles, are you ashamed? Are you ashamed of what you've done?
Robert Coles worked as a vicar in Eastbourne, Horsham and Chichester. He was jailed for 8 years in February for grooming and abusing 3 boys in the 70s and 80s. Mark was one of those boys.
You're being offered a 6-figure sum. Why is it not good enough?
It needs to be in proportion to what I've suffered.
Compensation is the only remedy that's available, and some justice is better than no justice at all. Compensation in the UK, in my opinion, is very modest and doesn't adequately reflect the level of harm suffered by victims of sexual abuse. But the law is as it stands, and the courts have to apply it as it stands.
Scores of victims of sexual abuse have come forward to reveal what has happened to them in recent years. Some suggest there are in excess of 100 victims of sexual abuse, individuals who've been sexually abused by clergy here in Sussex. What is for sure is the Church of England here is being forced to pay out millions in compensation.
The victims have to go through a process of reliving all the harm, and they go through that process and it re-traumatises them, because often the other party, in this case the church, is seeking to limit the amount of money they give.
Coles was interviewed by police in 1997. We understand later the same year he admitted to 2 senior clergy he'd sexually abused a child. He continued, though, to work in Sussex churches until 2006. Although his abuser is in prison, Mark feels the church do not fully accept the damage which has been caused.
They are trying to make it as though the abuse wasn't as severe. They're trying to belittle it and belittle me, which is not right.
He says he will now go to court to try to gain the compensation he believes he deserves.
Well, Colin's at the offices of the Diocese of Chichester in Hove now. Colin, what more has the church had to say?
Well, Rob, they've told me they are restricted from discussing the exact details of this compensation claim, but they do appear to be hopeful that the case will not progress to court, hopeful that there will be further talks and negotiations between Mark, his solicitors and legal representatives from the Diocese of Chichester. Now, reading between the lines, it sounds as if the church do believe that they have been caring and compassionate towards the 45-year-old, and we understand that a full formal apology has been sent from the Bishop of Chichester, Dr. Martin Warner, accepting the full extent of the abuse to Mark.
Okay, Colin, thank you.